Right, so welcome to our project. We titled ourselves The Unconscious Front, and we're looking at representing creatively the dreams of people affected by the war in Ukraine. So, in our first conversation, we really identified a shared interest in the sensitive representation of conflict, and particularly how technology kind of can shape our perceptions, which is kind of drawing a bit from some of Toby's dissertation work as well. And we came to this Heidegger quote, which we both thought was quite provoking.
Yeah, basically, I think Heidegger was trying to explain how the technology that we use affects our experience as humans and affects our perception of the world. And one of the things we were talking about was how, all of this media coverage of the war and other things desensitizes us from the reality and the horrors of what it's actually like. So we thought maybe we can turn that on its head and instead use technology as a way to resensitize people to the human suffering that's taking place.
Yeah, and the war became a kind of natural topic, not only because it's kind of my research area for my eventual dissertation, but also because it kind of well reflects how conflict becomes desensitized because of exposure to it. We found this quite interesting quote from a professor of communications talking about how, after hearing about kind of successive atrocities, his reaction started to become dull to it. We also started to think about using dreams as a potential entry point to telling human stories, which is drawing on some work I've done previously. And it also seemed a good way to kind of liberate us to allow quite creative work. And we came across this quote from a psychology professor called Bulkley, which kind of really encapsulates our vision for the project. I'll read it here. So, to rehumanize each other is a direct expression of resistance against the social forces that enable and sustain campaigns of mass violence. This move toward rehumanization is precisely the effect of dream sharing. The practice of sharing dreams naturally stimulates greater awareness of the distinctive qualities of other people's inner worlds. It strengthens the capacity for mutual recognition. So, with our kind of topic more or less focused on, we started to think more about how we could actually go about telling the stories of these dreams. So, yeah.
Yeah, so me coming from a music background, which I'm particularly interested in, like I said, like electroacoustic and acousmatic composition. And a lot of that is using already recorded audio as material for further composition. And within these dreams, there's specific locations like Berdyansk or the summer gardens in St. Petersburg. So we thought, and also these like very distinctive sounds of the war. So we thought, well, there's loads of media coverage, loads of potential material for us to use. So we started building up libraries of these sounds of these places and distinctive sounds. And then spectromorphology, which is kind of a visual, a way of representing, I guess, physical gesture with audio, and building up like progressions of sounds and a way of threading sound together, which creates a kind of continuous thread of movement and transformation. And you can use it to kind of represent natural phenomena as well, kind of like you've got this cloud blowing these leaves, and it's a way of thinking about using sounds to create music, but it's music or sound that creates strong mental imagery, because it's not like notes, it's actual sounds that we hear on a daily basis, and we have mental reactions to them. Like, I guess that's, yeah. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it was really our hope that we'd try and get to people's emotions through the project, which is why I think spectrum morphology and just actually having kind of sensory audio was really exciting. And we also wanted to combine that with kind of visual representations as well, as you'll see. Let's see. In terms of finding the dreams, we were able to kind of find some right off the bat from some kind of online articles, but we came across this company called the Dream app, which runs this kind of dream or sleep therapy app. And they surveyed 750 Ukrainians just after the war started to ask about how the conflict had started to manifest in their dreams. And we were able to get in touch with the CEO of the company and kind of ask if we could get access to their primary data, which they willingly gave us, which was just great because we had suddenly, I mean, it was maybe a couple dozen unpublished dreams that we could draw from. And some of them we have used in our kind of final project, which is obviously still ongoing. Because we kind of had some quite good academic research to draw on with Heidegger and such. We started to look more for creatives.
Yeah, so when we were looking into other artists doing creative representations of dreams, and specifically like in sound, we found Delia Derbyshire, who's like one of the pioneers in electronic music, and she made the music for Doctor Who. But she'd also done this Inventions for Radio #1, The Dreams, where she uses, revolutionary technology at the time to create these sonic representations of dreams. And it also has narrative in it as well that kind of repeats and has this kind of ephemeral dreamlike quality. And we just thought that was like a really nice thing to come across when we were already formulating a similar kind of idea.
Yeah, it made a good kind of ancestry to draw from. So in terms of kind of planning these soundscapes, Toby kind of introduced me to the concept of graphic scores, which is representing sound visually. And it's a very kind of fluid process. Those two on the left are some of Toby's early work, drawing from the dreams. And it's really just kind of trying to represent the different layers of sound. And it's just a very free-flowing activity. And I think it was really helpful for us, not only visualizing the dreams, but also visualizing how they would sound. And also, I started to think more about how we could maybe illustrate the dreams as well. That in the bottom right is a sketch of the port of Berdiansk, where one of the dreams focuses around. And then Astrid, I don't think she's in the meeting yet, but she.
Astrid's here.
I'm there.
Yay. So she introduced us to the technique of automatic drawing, because she kind of saw similarities between these soundscapes and the practice of automatic drawing, because automatic drawing kind of involves subconscious and unconscious art, where you really are just letting yourself go in trying to, usually it's reflecting dreams as well. That's, I think, where the surrealists originally came up with the method. So we had a lovely session in the afternoon on a bench outside Wood Lane with Astrid kind of reading the dreams to us whilst we were trying to represent them. And we also did some of our own dreams as well. And that kind of helped develop some of the soundscapes that we were planning. Yeah, what were your thoughts on it, Toby?
Yeah, well, it was really great. It was a really great practice in not thinking too much about what is actually happening on the paper, and just, I think we both had our own struggles with, because it was what was the actual, this automatic drawing, like, trying to do something or having judgments about what we're doing on the paper, but we're really just trying, and I guess started to develop a practice of just like pure expression, if that's like totally possible. But it was interesting way of a different way of thinking about making things, and I think actually we were both found that we did our drawings differently than how we would have if we were thinking or labouring over them, and some new forms came out of it, which we then were able to take to creating some graphic scores. So that was a nice process.
Yeah, definitely. So here's an example of one of the dreams that we came across. I won't read it because I just wanted to show you it to kind of give you an idea, but we will show you our kind of early prototype of the kind of eventual project we want to produce. So it's a combination of an illustration and a soundscape, which Toby has been creating along with. We also managed to hire voice actors as well from Russian and Ukrainian speakers within the university, which has been great because we're able to kind of hear these dreams in, well, sort of their own voices as close as we could get. And I think that helps again with really bringing out the human quality that we wanted to emphasize for the resensitization. So with any luck, the audio should work. So I'll play it now. Can you hear okay?
1 week before the start of the war, I dreamt that I rode into the summer gardens on horseback. All of the trees are covered in frost. On each branch, there are bunches of roses made of ice. Everything is fragile and dead. In the midst of the branches are long, white candles burning with white, cold flames. Despite all of this beauty and grace, the dream was terrifying. I woke with a sense that horror was nearing.
That all played through good. Yeah. So that's our kind of a first example. And then yeah, so moving forward, this is another illustration that I kind of produced of this was a dream of a woman also before the war, dreaming of being deported to Belarus, and that will be another one of our dreamscapes that we create. We hope to maybe have about 3 or 4 with accompanying kind of soundscapes. And we were also thinking about how we could link them together, if Toby wants to talk a bit about that.
Yeah, well, we were thinking about using some of the graphic scores, and also one of the things that we found from the dream app was like, what are the things that people are dreaming about the most, like particular like what are the particular symbols that come up in people's dreams. And we were thinking about, between these narrative dreamscapes, doing more like abstract, maybe more even classical electroacoustic composition to thread the different dreams together, which we thought kind of acts as like that in-between state between a kind of dream that you remember and then another dream. You're like, well, how did I get there? It's kind of abstract and you're not really sure what's going on. So we thought that might have been a nice way to incorporate graphic scores, these kind of more symbolic elements from the data that we've got, and electroacoustic composition.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well the audio quality came out. It sounded a bit gravelly over here, but like listening to Toby's work is really phenomenal, and I think when they're all uploaded on the website, I think it should be something to be proud of. So yeah, that's what we've been doing.